Glad you could join us for Media Champions. I'm Mary Therese from Daily Ad Brief, and we're excited to have on the Media Champions program today another subject matter expert when it comes to marketing and media and getting the story out. We've got Lori Sullivan from Avalon, New Jersey. She is the president and CEO of BD Blueprint and Consulting. Lori, very glad to have you on the program today.
Thanks, MT. So glad to be here this morning.
So your world is architecture, construction, engineering, and it's more than just blueprints. I think it's safe to say when you're trying to sell and tell your story. How do you guys come into play to help that client sell and tell their story?
Well, for us, MT, we're a professional services industry. So for us, telling the story is about how my clients can help their customers. So obviously the people in our industry are looking to build buildings. I mean, that's primarily what it is. So for my clients, the most important thing is that they need to be able to talk about how they can serve their customers and not just build a spectacular building, but also provide a really terrific experience for their customers.
I know you're very heavily involved in coaching. Why is that important? You can have the best idea in the world, right? But if you can't communicate it, that's a problem. So that's where you come into play.
Absolutely. That's a big part of it because in the services industry, it's all about the people who are providing the services. They're subject matter experts. And so each one of those people has to be able to tell their company story in a way that's meaningful. Everybody in architecture, engineering, and construction is very technical. So a lot of what they have to be able to convey is how they can bring that technical expertise to bear on the success of a project and also to bear on a great customer experience. So my coaching is a lot with technical people. How do you tell the story of your firm or your company, and how do you tell it in a differentiated way and a way that resonates with your customers?
Lori, how did you get into this business of coaching and helping people build buildings but tell their story? I think it's probably a very unique path, but how did you end up where you are today?
Well, I started out my career in engineering. So I'm a degreed engineer, and I started out my career in the building industry. So I spent the first half of my career, about the first 10, 15 years, actually doing construction. Then I moved on to the business side where I worked in the business development field for my companies. And then I went on and started my own practice, really just to work with architects, engineers, and construction companies, different types of builders. So it was really a progression starting from the field and moving into the business side of things and then into the marketing side.
Let's talk about the evolution of getting the story out because it's so different today, no matter what your product is, if it's buildings or bread boxes. It's very different in being able to tell your story, especially where social media comes into play and so many different avenues of putting that out there. How do you convince a client who maybe is not as savvy in the world of digital marketing to take that plunge and try all these other avenues to get that word out that you're helping them to build?
Right. Well, that's a super important aspect to the coaching that I do because in the end of the day, our message has to land. And like so many other services industry, there's a tremendous amount of competition out there. So the most important thing is that we get super granular. Who is the customer and where does your customer go for information and where does your customer go to solve their problems? So the first part of it is really a really super deep dive on what the customer's needs are, what their unique industries are, and then where can they go to find people that can help them. So in terms of social media or any other types of media outlets, it's super important to understand where the customer is going to go first and that your message is really tailored and very specific to that particular customer base. Once you get that right, the rest of it becomes a lot easier. But what I find with my customers, that that's the biggest mistake that they might make, that they haven't really thought about a highly targeted and differentiated message. They try to make it too broad. So the more specific we can get with the message, the deeper the understanding is of who the customer is, finding the right outlet becomes a whole lot easier.
Lori, I'm sold. You've got the right blueprint to help people grow their business. That's for sure. You're definitely where you need to be. Very, very thankful that you could be with us today and shared this insight with us, Lori. And we hope you'll come back and see us again.
Thanks so much, MT. Happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
You bet. If you want to know the great things that Lori and the folks at BD Blueprint and Consulting are doing, check them out at our website, dailyadbrief.com, and join us back for more Media Champions. I'm Mary Treese.